Right. Today's video will be a bit more impromptu, but our topic for this week is just trying out agentic AIs like Cursor, Windsurf, Aider, etc. Today I will be using or rather trying out Cursor. I have tried out once before, but that's about my only experience. So let's go download Cursor real quick. For Windows. Right. Let's set the user setup. So as this downloads, today I'm just gonna be making or I'm gonna be attempting to make a classic Snake game using Cursor. So let's see how that goes, and then I'll rate its performance, and then we'll see how good it is. So yes, I do believe I do need to log in. So give me a moment. Right, just resetting my password real quick. Should be good. All right. I could have just skipped, but it's fine. All right. I am not importing for VS Code. Go with cursor dark. Quick start agent cursor tab. Today we're trying out the agent itself. Data sharing. No, thank you. Language for AI. That do auto or English, and then open from terminal. That I do not need right now. All right, so here we have it, cursor. Let me open a project. I made a folder for it in advance. Let me just open that up real quick. All right, select folder. All right, so I zoom this in. Give me a moment. Where would it fall under? It'd be in general, if anything. As you can tell, I am not very familiar with this. All right, it's fine. I'll deal with it. All right, so let's start off with a prompt. Um, create a new Python project using Pygame, let's say. Um, this means okay. Now let's reword that. Set up a main.py file that initializes a game window of, let's say, 600 by 600 pixels. And then let's see what it gives. So we're starting off a bit smaller. I'm not telling it to straight up make the snake game for me. Instead, I'm having it just create like a blank um window for just any Pygame. You uninstall the recommended Python extension. Sure. All that real quick. All right, there we go. All right, so this is what it has for me so far. Okay. Now create the okay. Just run this process, install the requirements using pip install requirements, then run the game using Python main.py. So for the context or for this tryout, I guess, I will be trying not to touch the code whatsoever. So I think they call that term vibe coding now. Well, I don't necessarily agree with that. Um I'm just here to try it out. So this is a simple thing, just a simple snake game. So um set a virtual environment or create a virtual environment and download all the requirements. And let's put install all the dependencies from the requirements.txt file. Afterwards, I'll run it myself. I don't know if I can do that. All right. So let's get to create a virtual environment. Sources real quick. Okay. I'll let it create it. Okay. It's generating something for that. I'll help you create a virtual environment and install the dependencies. I'll run the necessary commands in sequence. First, let's create a virtual environment. Okay. I'll let it run the command. Yep. I'll set it to use for this workspace folder. Alright. Now we activate it. Yes. So far so good. Yep. All the dependencies from requirements.txt. There, everything is set up now. Here's what we've done. Create a new virtual environment called VN. Activated the virtual environment and successfully installed Pygame version 5.2 from requirements.txt. Alright, now let's run it. Yeah, it's just the Pygame window. There's obviously nothing to be seen there yet. Alright, so let's close that. Take a minute, yeah, remember that if you're gonna work on this project here. Okay, yes. Want to learn cursor from the command line? No thank you. I don't like its constant pop-ups. That's one thing I'm not a fan of so far. So let's imp implement the basics of a classic snake game. So that would be a snake moves in a direction. So that would be up, up, down, left, right. So then there would be there's a food pellet or like an apple bit that appears at a random position in the board. When the snake eats the food, the snake grows in length. The game ends if the snake hits itself or the wall. Well, there's two versions of the snake game. One where the snake can actually wrap around, and one where it ends if the snake hits the wall. I'm not too familiar with Snake, but I believe the one where it hits the wall is the classic version. So it's gonna saying that it will modify the main.py file to implement a basic Snake game with all the requested features, and it's gonna break it down for me. So let's see what it have for me. Can I see what model it's using right now? It's set to just auto right now. Okay. I do like that it lets us select which model to use because sometimes some models won't work as well as others, and then sometimes you gotta take into account how much it might take per token, like how much it'll cost you, because some models cost a lot more than others. So here's its breakdown. It's implemented the snake movement, the food system, snake growth, the collision detection, and the game over state. So make sure you're in the virtual environment, run Python, okay? Use arrow keys to control the snake, try to eat as many food pellets. The game runs at 10 frames per second, controlled by, okay? I might up that to 15 seconds, but let's run it and see what happens. Okay, so far, this is what we have. I mean, it's very basic, but it's working. All right. And then if I hit the corner here, I should die. Oh, I don't. That is an issue. Normally, I do actually prefer the one where you wrap around, but I asked for a classic game of Snake, and I explained it to the agent that I wanted the game to be over when the wall is hit. So that's enough of that. Let's close that. I'll accept these changes for now, but then I need to tell it that the game did not end when the snake hit the wall. Instead, the snake wrapped around and the game continued as if nothing happened. Furthermore, I would like to implement the use of WASD as movement as well. In addition to the arrow keys, give the user more options. I'm doing this as a personal preference. I'd like to be able to do this with WASD. So it's modifying the code. So let's see what we'll get out of this. Okay. It's a bit slow, but I am asking to do quite. I am asking it to do quite a bit. All right, so it made some changes. Let's. Okay. Game over. Press space to restart. Okay. And WSD does work. So that's a thumbs up. Well, the classic Snake game rules have come into effect. Now I gotta test if the snake hitting itself will also end the games. Will end the game. So let's get a bit big. Okay, and yeah, it ended. So yeah, once again, game over. Press space to restart. That is perfectly fine. All right, so it already works. So let's just add some small additions before we end it there. So let's try to get some aesthetics going. So use a modern flat color palette. So that would mean dark background, bright snake, and food colors. It's already using something very similar to that. So I don't know if it'll make any changes to that, to be honest. So then let's add like a pixelated retro font for the score. So this would also mean it would keep track of the score. Let's see if it'll understand that. And then let's keep the UI minimalistic and clean. And then we can also tell it to do some more instructions. So use a grid system, structure the board. I don't like a grid system actually. I'm gonna take that out. What else could we? Okay, so since I told it to do that, let me put this in the end. Let's say for okay, display the score at the top center. Restart, add a restart option on game over with a key press. let's put it like R, and then center. Hmm. I was gonna tell it to change the text for now, but that's just a nitpick on my part. When the game ends, it says game over. Please press space to restart and or retry, and it's a bit. It doesn't look very centered or anything in my opinion, and it doesn't look very great. But um, add smooth transitions when restarting the game. All right, let's see if it gets all that done. Let me accept the changes from before because they were good. I'll modify the game. Okay, I'll let it do that. Update the main .py file with all the requested improvements. Once again, so far so good. Just let us do its thing. In the meantime, what else could we add? If we really want to get all the way, I think we could add like or visual effects, or like maybe even sound effects, something like that. But if the changes to this are good, I think I'll leave it at that. So let's run it once again. Let's see what it has. Okay, so I did it for me. This is what I wanted without, but I didn't ever ask it to. So did game over, press space or R to restart. So in my opinion, this is a happy little accident. Or for me, this is a happy little accident. It did what I wanted without even me telling it to. But if I didn't want it to, or for that to get changed, um, I wouldn't have liked that. So far there's an interesting transition. I would personally shorten that transition down. It felt a bit weird. So there's a trailing effect on the snake. I actually do like that. I didn't necessarily to tell it to do that in particular, but I do like that. Yeah, score is being kept at the top center. Um Next up we could like if we wanted to continue from here, we could implement a high score tracker and then whatnot. So far I like that. That was a very basic implementation obviously because it's a snake game. But I thought that was good. I don't know how it would perform in more complex tests, but so far my impression of Cursor is pretty good. Let's end the game there. Let's accept the changes. Accept the file. And here is what Cursor gave me in the end. About 206 lines of code. And yeah, that's it for me. That was just me trying out an agentic AI, in this case Cursor, my thoughts on it, and just how it performed. Overall, I thought it did pretty good. I'd imagine it fall flat with more complex tasks, but that's not what we're here for today. That's it for me. I'll see you guys later.